Hello everybody, how's it going today? Glowplasma 231 here, back in data, Märchen Crown, chapter number 14. This chapter is titled Selectio Legalis, and it is currently 9:28 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on July 16th of 2025. And I have not yet read the Märchen Crown chapter for this week, of course, this chapter number 14, as I just mentioned, and really, I figured we'd do a little bit of a fun thing this week and do a sort of live reading. Well, of course, this isn't going to be a live video, but I have not read this chapter yet. All I have seen is, of course, the chapter title whenever I clicked on Manga Plus to read the chapter, and, of course, the whole idea of, oh, let me take a look at the first page just so I already have it open on my computer. So I legitimately know nothing that's about to happen in this. I don't even know how many pages this chapter is. Manga Plus says there's 21 pages, which probably boils down if 4 of those pages are irrelevant to about a 17-page chapter. So yeah, we've got about 17 pages to talk about, all of which I only know one of, which is the cover page of this chapter. But I did this one time with the very first chapter of Märchen Crown, and being that it is very, very late, I figured, hey, why not do this? I've actually been at a roller coaster theme park all day. It was very fun, first time I'd done that in a very long time. But because of that, I was not at my computer at the time I normally am to be like, oh yeah, let me sit down and do the Märchen Crown video. I still sort of try to get out on Wednesday, even if most of the English audience that will listen or watch this video will not see it until Thursday. So just for my sake, I want to try to get it up on a Wednesday, and it is currently 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which means I have 2.5 hours to do this, and I guess let's just go ahead and get started. But of course, to remind myself even what happened in the last chapter was number 13, and as far as I remember, it was this little bit. I also didn't check what happened last chapter like I normally do, so this is like completely coming off the cuff this entire video, right? But last time we saw that Michael and Lafina ended up making it to the royal capital, or really, we don't really know too much about it, like even if there's like a capital town or anything like that. All we know is they made it to this bigger castle, and they sort of went into the castle, and oh, there's a few ankle reapers there. Michael was in control of his powers and able to take a few of those ankle reapers out, until we went up to the top of the castle, where we saw that Cinderella is currently there with Rapunzel, who they've captured, and also the prince of the nation, whose name I think was Ela or something like that. Actually, let me open up a last chapter so I can figure out what that name is, because that's sort of like an important one I think I should know for this chapter. So let me try to quickly go through chapter. Yeah, so we saw Michael was messing up all of these ankle reapers, and eventually we come to Rapunzel. She's currently captured, and we also learned that Cinderella is wheelchair bound, which was a very interesting reveal. And of course, King Ela, that's what his name was. He is of course her partner and also a cursed person as well. And there's this whole idea of all of these various feet up here, and this big thing of like, oh, he's got this blade made out of glass, and he's getting ready to go through and kill Rapunzel, and this whole idea of like, hey, who would have thought that the first princess I need to kill would have come to me like this, pretty much. Leading me to the whole theory of this may be like a battle royale manga of some sort. Go check out last video if you want to hear more of my thoughts on all of that. And I don't know if that even ties into this chapter, because like I said, I've not read it in the slightest. But the very last moment we saw was Michael using his cursed powers to pretty much swing in through the window, kick it through, and oh no, look at this, Rapunzel and Michael have been reunited at this point. And this is the moment that we start off chapter number 14 of, as we see that Michael and, of course, Lafina, who is, like, hanging around Michael's necks, they bust through the window. And I really do like this small little panel that we get of Lafina, who's like, gosh, like, I thought I was done for with all of that. And, of course, Michael's like, Rapunzel, and Rapunzel's like, oh, Michael! And we sort of see they go through and have this very loving embrace that we see here on the second page, as we get to chapter title, Selectio Legalis. Oh, what is this, right? As we get this whole idea of the two of them are just hugging each other and like, oh my gosh, like, thank goodness you're okay, and like, they just have like a really nice embrace going on here. And Lafina in the background is like, oh, well, you two seem to be like decently enjoying yourselves. Like, I honestly can't say the same for what I just went through. That wasn't a very fun thing in there, right? As we see that Cinderella, who of course is sitting in her wheelchair, goes and refers to Lafina saying, oh my, look who it is. So we meet again. Elder sister. Dun 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 dun. So I guess this confirms that this is the Bellina character who we've heard. Actually, I shouldn't have mentioned that because the very next panel we see Lafina going, "Oh, Bellina." Okay, so that confirms what I was about to say. I think may be confirmed now. We sort of put all of these dots together, but it's sort of nice to see it finally being confirmed here in the moment, right? And Cinderella just says, like, "Hey, I'll ask you no longer use that name. I am Cinderella now, the princess who's devoted her body and soul to King Ela. And now, you know that you're not supposed to be here, sister. I'll arrange a carriage to escort you home." And Lafina's like, "Hey, no, Bellina. I have come to stop you. The curse has eaten away at your soul, so I'm going to put an end to it myself as your big sister." Cinderella just says, like, "Hey, oh dear, you're just trying to bully me once again, like, just like the old days. Does that mean that you two finally understand that pain is a form of love?" This is decently interesting. I sort of wonder what all of this goes through, but I'm not going to, like, try to break anything down yet. We'll talk about it all at the end of the video, being that I don't know what's happening in this chapter, right? As the whole idea is she's like, "Hey, or perhaps you found a new little pet to dote on instead." I guess referring to Rapunzel here in this scenario. I don't really know all about that, right? But Lafina's like, "Hey, you little..." As we see that King Ela comes over and sort of, like, just holds his hand and, like, sets it on Cinderella's shoulder, saying, like, hey, now, Cinderella. That's enough fighting between you two sisters. She seems quite serious, after all. Stay back and allow me to protect you." And Cinderella's like, "Oh, well, of course, your majesty." As we see that Ela sort of walks closer into the air, just saying, like, "Oh, well then, Michael, was it? What an inescapable work of fate that we should meet again so soon." Yes, that's right, they met like 3 chapters ago at this point, which is honestly really funny, and like, oh yes, he said, "Man, I hope it's going to be a long time before we meet again." Oh, well, would you look at this, right? As we see that King Ela just starts walking closer, saying like, "Oh, so it was you after all. The king's branch, chosen as this girl's companion." And I like how Michael says the exact thing that I'm thinking of this moment, like, the king's branch, like, what does that mean? And I'm going to just go and think right now before I read any more. I take it that this is the whole idea, like I was saying. We have all of these various princesses based on fairy tales, and there is a cursed person who is pretty much all of their lovers, pretty much, is the whole idea of this. Like, as far as we know, the curse is like this weird this like plant vine abomination thing. So probably that's what this king's branch is like, they are the branch that's the king to this princess, which, okay, I think that may be a little bit of an interesting thing, right? But the next thing we see is Ela saying, "Oh, it simply means there's nothing left for me to do but this." As we see that, very simply put, Ela just, like, takes his glass sword, it's almost like a cane sword, that's pretty cool, and he just, like, throws it on the ground in front of Michael here in a moment, just says, like, "Michael, let us adhere to the rights imposed upon us, and embark on the duel of the Selectio Legalis." Chapter title drop, I see what they're doing here. Michael, very typically, the Selectio Legalis, like, what is that, right? Ela's like, "Hey, never mind the name, it is merely a duel to the death, which someone saw fit to give a name for fun. I have no intention of explaining it to you. Simply, I will fight for the sake of our love, and you shall fight to oppose me. The truth is, there's no other choice since the beginning, as sad as the truth as it may be." And Michael's like, "I don't get what's going on here. I don't know what you're trying to do, and I don't care either. All I want is to make Rapunzel happy, but for her sake, if you threaten to destroy that happiness, I will fight you with this strong will of mine." As we see that he goes down and grabs the sword that Ela had just thrown on the ground, Michael sort of picks it up and holds it in front of his face. And I also do like this wordplay here, the whole idea of like, "Hey, I will fight you with this strong will of mine." Of course, this is the whole idea that it's sort of a little bit of a weird thing that Ela actually happened to make Michael stronger in their little bit of a meeting with this whole idea of like, hey, using your strong will, you can turn this cursed power into something way more better that you can use for the sake of your love or something else like that. I do find this a little bit of an interesting thing, right? But as we turn the page, that's definitely thumbnail-worthy panel right there. We see Michael sort of like holding the sword back behind it. It's honestly a really cool visual. We see that let me get everything right here. Yes, he is holding the blade in his right hand, and his elbow and arm is pretty much pulled up behind his face to where the handle of the blade, along with his hand that's holding it, is almost behind his face out of view, and his hand is sort of like sheathing around the sword in general in the front. It's honestly a pretty cool page, as Michael just is like, hey, I will protect Rapunzel. And Hila's like, oh, very well, do your best. Michael then comes through and starts to attack Hila here in a moment, and this is honestly actually pretty cool, as Michael throws his right arm behind him, and we see that his wrist deconnects from the main body, and sort of pulls like a gum extender arm thing from One Piece. Is like, we see that his hand jettisons forward, and all of the vines sort of like come out of his arm to let this happen, as his arm and the blade are heading straight towards Hila, right? And Hila's like, oh, you cannot defeat me, boy, for our love is surely superior to yours. Hila throws up his leg here in a moment, blocking the blade as they pretty much clank alongside each other, and this actually disarms Michael here in the moment, as we see that Michael's arm has sort of had to let go of the blade, but he's able to sort of like wrangle around his arm and like move it around away using all of the like disconnected vines and everything, and he's able to grab the blade again and pull in his arm closer to his body once more. But in the time it sort of took Michael to go around and do this main effect, we see that Hila has closed the distance between the two of them, as Hila, not seemingly using any cursed power at all, just comes through with his leg and kicks Michael straight in the face. Like, honestly, it sort of looks like Hila's leg is bent at a very weird angle for this, so it may be something like where the vines are inside of his leg, like his pant leg controlling all of this various stuff. But we see this sort of knocks Michael's head back. Of course, Michael's head is no longer attached, it's attached by vines only, so his head sort of like goes back and his sort of whole body falls and sort of like recalls all together here in the moment. And Hila sort of seems a little bit shocked by this, saying like, oh, so you can use more than just your arms then. But oh, my boy, you are still incomplete. That part of you is still human in that way. Your humanity holds you back from your true cursed nature. As we see that Hila just says like, hey, you and I are monsters, my boy. So go wild and curse the world, and let your hatred seethe for this cruel and hideous tragedy we are in. Be more cursed, be more wretched, and experience more pain, more hurt, and suffering than anyone else. And we get a really cool two-page spread here on pages 15 and 16, as we just see Hila come through, and we see that he lifts up his left leg, and as he does, there are a lot of these like bigger, more mature vines with these honestly skeletal looking thorns branching off of them, and we see his entire leg has just turned into all of these, and it's honestly a really cool thing where these vines just keep producing, and they look way stronger than anything we have seen Michael do so far, even when he was in initially that big raged formation and all of that various stuff, right? And honestly, a really cool little bit of a speech from Hila as well, like, you and I are monsters, my boy. Go on and curse the world. It's honestly really cool, right? Well, we see that Michael sees this, and I spoke too soon. I should have just, like, finished the chapter. But Hila just continues like, hey, be more cursed, be more wretched, and experience more pain, more hurt, and suffering than anyone else. Beyond that lies the faint glimmer of love. As we turn to the final page of the chapter, page number 17, and we just get this single page spread, as we see that Hila's leg has now formed into something a little bit more interesting. And all of those, like, bone-like thorns I was talking about before, we see those are actually all the legs of a massive centipede that Hila has turned his leg into. As we see all of the vines have coiled around each other, making the form of a centipede, and all of these thorns are the legs, as it almost coils around Hila in the moment. This was a pretty good chapter. Yeah, honestly, this was a very interesting one. I sort of have to give myself a second to think about all of the things that we get here in this chapter. But honestly, I do like this. We get the Michael and Rapunzel are back again, and now a bigger conflict is getting ready to happen. And, okay, we get this whole idea from Ela here of the two of us meeting again, you are the King's Branch. As I mentioned earlier, I really think this goes into my whole theory of this is just a big battle royale series, and all of these fairy tale princesses all have a prince alongside them, and all of them will be more unique characters who've all been cursed in a specific way, and they all have to fight each other, and whoever wins at the end of the day, we don't quite know what they achieve, but from what I'm guessing, they achieve some sort of like true bond with each other in this little bit of a way. And we understand that this whole battle is done through this method of something called the Selectio Legalis, which I don't exactly know what that means. It seems very Latin, but I am guessing, being that I can see the words select and legal in there, it probably has to be like legal selection or something like that. If anybody who's watching this video really knows anything about Latin and would be willing to help me out, that would be pretty cool. And I actually have a friend who I went to college with who knows a bit of Latin. They had to take some stuff of it. So I may actually ask them for next week's video, sort of see like, oh, what does this actually mean? This is a pretty interesting thing. I also like how Ela is drawn here whenever he's talking about all of this, but willingly giving Michael the blade and being like, hey, we have to fight each other. This is just how this works. Michael's got that really cool panel being like, hey, I will protect Rapunzel. And we see that he's using some pretty creative things, knocking his head back whenever a kick comes towards it, extending his arm and his wrist almost like a gum power from One Piece, or like elasticity in any way. But also seeing that Ela is just like so much more powerful, and this whole idea of I should have just continued going on the pages and seeing Ela's leg like coil into the centipede. It's a really cool visual, and I'd honestly be interested to see if each person he fights maybe has like a different way that they use their cursed powers. Like maybe Ela uses it and turns everything into insects, but also I sort of have to imagine that at the same time, at the end of the day, all of this is also related back to the fairy tale princesses they are all going with. So I don't really know the Rapunzel connection here. Maybe it's like something that has like 1,000 legs or like 1,000 feet compared to the whole glass slipper with Rapunzel and all of that. Also, we get no clarification to like all of the feet in the room and why Cinderella needs all of these. We get confirmation like, oh yes, Lafina and Cinderella are related, of course, as we all really put two and two together, but there are a little bit more questions that are brought up in this chapter than really get answered, or really just questions we've already had that we just don't get any more depth into. Honestly, I thought this was a very good chapter of the series. As much as I was like, yeah, last chapter wasn't particularly amazing, I think that this one definitely has made up for it in a few ways, mainly being like, oh, this is really interesting and I want to know what happens next time, seeing how, because of course it sort of seems like Michael has to overcome this feat, or honestly, it would be a really cool baller move if Michael just fails here, but him and Rapunzel sort of somehow get out of here, and maybe Lafina is captured in the place or something, and they have to end up having to come back. Michael has to get stronger, deepen their bond of their love or whatever, to come back and fight once more. I think that'd be a really cool way to portray this fight. But also, I'm not a manga. I do not know what, of course, the artists and authors of this series, who all write this series. It is Aka Asakasa, Agio Kore, and Azio Chika. Azio Chika does the illustrating, Asa Asakasa does the story, and we don't know what Azio Chika does. He may do the storyboards or something else, but as far as I know, we have absolutely no concrete idea. Maybe he's like the fairy tale researcher or something, right? Like, I know certain manga, like Dr. Stone, has like a science consultant. I think the Rakugo manga, Kane Banachi, has a Rakugo consultant. Maybe this is the fairy tale consultant or something like that. I don't really know, but honestly, it's a bit of just a really good chapter, and I'll be definitely interested to see where this chapter goes next time. But again, I just want to thank you guys for bearing with me as I did sort of one of these live or read-through things. I always think these are a little bit of a fun thing to do because it is like simply me just reacting to a chapter as it comes out in the moment and trying my best to be calm and composed while also breaking down the chapter in the style I normally do it at, right? But I I've only been going for like 19 minutes or something. It's currently 9:48 p.m., so that's not bad in the slightest. But with all of that, I just want to thank you guys all for watching this video on Märchen Crown at chapter number 14. I've covered every other chapter of this series, so that playlist will be linked in the description box of this YouTube video along with the end card. And if you did enjoy it, well, I've got an entire YouTube channel filled with other chapter reviews of series just like this one. So if you're interested, go check out all the series I talk about there. I talk about series like Kagurabachi, World Trigger, and other series that ran on Weekly Shonen Jump. I even did an entire series. I talked about 50 chapters of Oshinoko, which was Asakasa's previous work, and the reason I am covering this one to this day. And hey, this was a pretty good chapter for me to continue being like, hey, I want to talk about this manga, you know? But with all that out of the way, I just want to thank you guys for watching as normal, and I will catch you guys next time for Märchen Crown. Let's actually check. Are we getting a chapter next week? Yes, we're getting a chapter on July 23rd of 2025, which is 1 week from today, at least the day I'm recording of this video, which is a Wednesday, right? The normal day it comes out. So we're getting a chapter next week. I'm definitely happy about that. So yeah, I'll just catch you guys next time for that video. So thank you guys so much for watching again, and yeah, Selectio Legalis. I think that's probably Latin for legal selection. As Ela says, it's a name that somebody gave it, like, sure enough, buddy. I'll see you guys next time.